Good morning, everyone. It's Chrissy Ann here. We are going to have a Facebook Live with the beautiful, amazing Estelle Thomson. I'm sure everybody gets her last name wrong often. There is no P in Thomson. She is an artist, grief ambassador, and a yoga instructor. She is a beautiful being. So I'm just going to give a moment for her to join and for this to gain some momentum. Yeah, let's see if this is working. So it's a rainy day here in Moncton, New Brunswick. Yeah, very, very rainy. I hope you can see me okay. The lighting in here is a bit dark today. I have to get some more lighting for my office. So hopefully that you see me okay. And if you're here, please say hi. And yeah, you know, rain always reminds me of grief and the sadness that we move through. Cleansing. Just gonna see here. Sorry about that. Let's see. Hi, Becky. Hi, sweetheart. Okay, I'm not picking up Estelle. Just one sec. Just gonna share the page so we can gain some momentum. Just bear with us while we deal with technology. Hi, Lynn. Hi, sweetheart. So I'm just still waiting for Estelle. I see Lynn and Becky. So how's the weather where you are at? Hi, Estelle. Just one sec. It's telling me no viewers. Just one second. Why is it not letting me? There, let's try that. Technology is beautiful when it works. Hello.
Wait, I'm so sorry. I was like trying to figure it out. Wait. I want to play something so that my phone stays here. Oh, look, we're both in pink.
Yes, I know.
Can you see?
There you are.
So
I see you now.
Not like this. I just have to find something to hold my phone.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, just like this. Does that work?
I'm so excited that this is, oh, you're freezing a little bit.
Is that okay?
Am
The
I
connection's
freezing
not.
for you?
Yeah, a little.
Yeah, the connection. Yeah. So how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks, Chrissy, for having me on your platform and inviting me. And I'm just so happy to meet you.
I am happy to meet you too. I've been watching from afar and you inspire me every day. I love your Instagram. I really do. If anybody hasn't checked it out, please do so. So yeah, I'm so grateful to have you here today. I mean, we have, like you mentioned in your post the other day, we've become grief ambassadors, and we never thought we would be. It's not something we set out to do.
Nope.
And no, and I would love. So as I was getting ready, I kind of introduced you, right? So Estelle Thompson. Everybody, I'm
I
sure,
missed
trips
it
over
because I
your
was
last
like,
name.
I missed it. I was like frantically like trying to figure out. Anyways.
So Estelle is has a passion for grief, art, and yoga. I mean, that's what I see from afar, and it's a beautiful combination. So today I would love to share you with the world, and let's start with Tommy. I would love to hear about Tommy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, thank you so much. And it's quite auspicious because it's Tommy's birthday on June 16th.
Yeah,
And so, yeah,
Saturday.
so this Saturday, so I thought, you know, kind of looking forward to speaking with you today. I'm like, nah, it's the great like coincidence I get, I just get to speak of him. But yeah, Tommy was born June 16th, and he would have been 6 years old on Saturday. And he was born a preemie, so he
Oh,
was born at 26 weeks and 4 days of gestation. And so it made it so I have a first, my son Isaiah, which is my firstborn, was like, it was kind of crazy because I got pregnant and like they were going to be 13 months apart. And that in itself like made it like really crazy. Yeah.
yeah.
And then Tommy was born like 4 months earlier. So now they were like 9 months apart.
Oh my goodness.
Did you know that? Yeah. And
No, my girls are 11 months, and I thought that was insane. I thought, that's crazy to handle, but 9 months, no.
yeah, and I mean his birth, like, it's one of those crazy stories where like I woke up one day, like I had no clue, like I was in labor, and I just went on with my day, and it was quite a traumatic birth, like it happened so fast, and then yeah, and then I had a 9-month-old, and I remember being at this hospital, and the nurses and doctors were like, "Who's that baby? Like who like your husband's holding a baby? We're not sure. Is it a cousin? Like, is it like?" But yeah, and so the next 4 months were quite, and I now looking back, I think my grief project and my grief journey really started like when he was born, because I was really thrown into, like a life I never expected. There I was. I had like a perfect first pregnancy, and I mean, we just lived quietly in our little, community of Cabé here in Nova Scotia, and then suddenly I was like full time at the hospital, and Tommy was really really sick. He, and I'm not going to go into details, but I think he got like everything like a premature baby can have, and just to give you an idea, I remember like 3 times having, the doctors call it the compassionate talk, where they sit you down,
Yeah.
and yeah, and they're like, so we have no idea how your son's quality of life with, like, so much so that like basically asking you if you want to pull the plug. And I remember by the third time, like my husband and I were like you know, we're just gonna let it be. Like he's been like he's still somehow, somewhere, we don't know why, but he's still alive, and his will to live is so strong, you know, and we're just gonna let the universe decide, you know, we're not gonna do anything. And yeah, and you know, sometimes, you know, Chrissy, I feel like now that he's gone, and we kind of put our loved ones, our passed away loved ones, like on a pedestal, like, oh, they were so this and so that, and you know, like I think we do that as just a way to cope, but like I really feel I have a right to say that about my son, just because like he's been through so much. Like he wasn't born, like it wasn't traditional, you know, it's not traditional to have scars on your bellies, to have an ostomy bag, to have brain bleeds, to have, you know, all this stuff, and to somehow, you know, make it through. Do you know what I mean? And so yeah, he was 4 months in NICU, and then he came home, and then it wasn't, you know, it wasn't the end of it. Like even when he was home, I was at the hospital like once, twice, 3 times a week. I mean, sometimes we got there and we just stayed there for a week or like months sometimes. But you know, when he got home, that I feel that's when I got to really see his personality kind of come out. And he was just so, you know, he was sick, so of course he was like irritable and whatnot, but at the, you know, he was just so content too. And like there's so many memories of him I have. Like he'd sleep in our bed, and I wake up and like just so tired, like just inexplicably like exhausted. He's like so happy. He's like big broad eyes, and just like, I'm like, why are you so happy? You have like tubes everywhere, like you're like, you know, and like to be so uncomfortable and yet just somehow finding some, you know what I mean? And I mean, that was really inspiring for me. Like even now, if I think about it, like if I whine about this or that, I'm just like, oh my God, like to think about what Tommy's been through and all the surgeries and all of it, you know. um so yeah. What else? I mean, Tommy loved books. He, you know, his interior life was just so rich. And I knew this just, you know, I could compare it to my firstborn. That was always very much like everything was outward for him. You know, my son Isaiah, it's like he needs us to play and he needs us for this and you know. But with Tommy, like you could see, like you could just sit him down and have a book and he'd like just talk to himself, like just little sing to himself and little squeaks. And I think now, you know, just like you see it with people that have been through lots of hardships, and just how they've been able to really access their imagination, and you know, they have a deep connection, like they've had no choice to do that. You know what I mean? And so there was something really much about that with him. And I could see it in his imagination. And actually, I don't know if you listened to a Super Soul conversation with Oprah. Do you listen to that podcast sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah.
But anyway, this week, there was like a man he's been wrongly convicted, you know, and he's been in prison for like 30 years and like crazy story, you know, but he was like, you know, it's like I was married to Halle Berry and I won Wimbledon like 5 times and I've been around the world. Like, you know, the guy just made up, and I was like, that is it, you know, when you've been to the bottom of hardship, when you had like, you know, if I think Tommy had to, you know, he was at the hospital and I tried to be there like all the time, but, you know, I had to take care of my other baby, you know, or even at night, like I can't imagine, like he just had to harness that interior life, you know, by himself. And I know he's just a baby, but I could really see that difference with my first son, that, you know, everything was kind of just the seen world, everything he could see and touch, you know. But Tommy was really like, there was a sense of him that was really about the interior world, the unseen and the mystical, you know.
It's beautiful that you see that in him, and like he started his life on such a hardship, but loved life. Like I remember I commented on an email with you the other day. I came upon this video, this tribute to Tommy, and the laughter in that boy. Oh, it was soulful, and I'm just thinking about it, it's giving me goosebumps. Like he's a ray of sunshine. That's how I see him. Like when I see pictures, and he's an inspiration for going through such hardship. But he really loved life.
He really did. And I think like a huge part of his legacy is really this fierce love, you know, and freedom for it. Like actually there's a picture right here. I just saw it. I don't know if you've ever seen this picture of
Ah,
him.
love it.
But like there's the freedom about like fiercely loving life like that, you know. And there's so I mean him and his brother like um, I mean it was so like they can make each other laugh like I've never seen, you know. And I have like the best memories. Like can you imagine me, like I remember this one morning where like my firstborn was in daycare like 3 days a week because I had to go to Tommy with the hospital. Like, since I would use daycare to go to the hospital and appointments. So, anyways, of course, I'm late that morning, and I'm just like trying to get the boys dressed, and I'm just like, I haven't had coffee. Like one of those mornings, there's everything's going wrong. And then I buckled them up like in the car, and we're already late. And then I'm like, I look at myself, I'm still in PJs, like my hair like, and I'm like, oh, shit. And I remember like sometimes the only time I got to get dressed was when they were like buckled up somewhere in the car. So I'm like, okay, I left the car doors open. I left the front door open. I like rocket ship up in my bedroom, and I like put on some jeans. I'm like I think like really quick, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, okay, I'm like for sure they're gonna be like wailing once I get back. Like there are two babies less than 2 years old in the car as I like try to like make sense of my life, basically. Anyways, I come back down. I'll always remember this. Like they were cracking up. Like Isaiah, usually it's like Isaiah making Tommy laugh, and Tommy, like you think there's like 200 babies in the car just like laughing and laughing, and like that was very much the dynamic where like Isaiah is like kind of an actor type, and like he just would make his brother, and and Tommy would think it's like the most hilarious thing in the world, and who knows what Isaiah did, but like I still remember this, like just standing there, and I was like almost like gonna go back up and have a bath or something. So it was awesome. It was very much that, and there was so I'm just gonna change the light. So there was there was very a softness about Isaiah towards Tommy. Like Isaiah knew that he knew that Tommy was sick somehow, and he was like, even now if I look at videos of them together, there's a real softness about that. So
I love that, and that fierce love for life, that Tommy, that legacy. I see that coming through you. So with your art, your writing, and I'm sure it comes through your yoga classes, and that's what attracts me to you so much. And I watched that video you and Becky did together, and there was a few things when you were talking about grief and moving through it that really spoke to me. And it was, to take heart and come back to yourself, calling yourself back. And the question that really, really stuck to me, and I'm getting goosebumps just still thinking about it, is how can I build a relationship with this sadness? Because it's going to be with me for a long time.
Well, that's
like,
right.
Can you share with people watching today, like all of that? Because all of that just really touched me when I was watching that video with Becky Keane. And if anybody hasn't seen it, I recommend. I'm sure it's on your Facebook page, Estelle, to take a look at that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I really, after Becky and I, we really nailed that interview. I thought,
yes,
she's such an eloquent, like she has a way, to ask questions too that really work beautifully with, I guess, what I have to say. But yeah, like after, I lost Tommy, like quite suddenly, there was a great deal of shock, and a whole restructuring of my identity, essentially, and it was, and I remember like Tommy's memorial was like on a Friday, and I remember waking up the Saturday, and being like, okay, like, after the whole like family and like this whole week of like I just, and I remember hearing you say when you were like, when the doctors were telling you about Carter, your baby Carter, yeah, and you had almost this like you were watching yourself over, yeah. And that's very much how, when I heard you say that, it was really an out of body experience what I was living. I wasn't in my body at all, and actually I was so I felt numb. Like sometimes even like I felt I can like touch, like I was like, am I really here? Like, is this the life I'm like living? And so, waking up that next day and being like, okay. And it was like this tragic, thing of like, I'm gonna, like my whole life, he's not gonna be with me, my whole life. And I picked myself up and I went to take a yoga class. But like, it made no sense, like here I am, I'm a complete, I don't think I was like, it's funny because like I still like I could cry, but like I felt I was like fake crying almost, like it was just so too much. But the only thing that I knew was art and yoga, so like there I am, like this is the practice that I've kept my rituals for like 15 years prior. So the only thing like I wanted that morning was like, I need to go yoga. Like I need to stick with what I know. I need my feet on my mat. And I also knew that I needed to move things along. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that, because it's almost like I couldn't feel like, the early on, like it was just too much for my body to process, to understand, and even, and so, and I remember like being at the yoga studio, people are like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, and I didn't want to talk to people. Like I wasn't going there to socialize. Like I was going there to move, and I remember the first like weeks after, like our families, we go to the beach, and like, do you know how cold the water is? Like in like August, September, and we needed to like jump in the water and like just almost feel the cold, like feel. So there was all these things where I think early on, like if you had taken yoga away from me, if you had taken painting away from me, I would have probably killed myself. Like no joke. And so, and that's why I said that in Beck's interview. Like I just felt so grateful that I had developed for myself, this and invested, in myself, these practices where I could be with myself, and for me, it's yoga and it's art, and maybe for you, Chrissy, like that, it was something else,
For me, it was writing and walking in nature, right? So when I hear you talk about art and yoga, I'm keep coming back to calling yourself back. So those were tools, calling yourself back in, calling yourself back into the body. And at first it is so overwhelming. It's almost like an out of body experience. You're feeling some of it, but you're not feeling all of it. It's like the universe is only giving you as much as you can handle, because it is too much. It's way too much.
Yeah. And people that have been through like incredible trauma, they cannot, like a lot of them, like they basically can't do yoga. They can't do like an hour yoga class. Like they'd have to do like almost just 5 minutes at a time. Because being in your body, it's like hardcore stuff, like, and I think a lot of people like is like, oh, yoga's boring or yoga's this, but in a way, it kind of is boring. It kind of is boring, but it's to gain this awareness over your body, and art will do it as well. Like I'll always say, like, your yoga practice is mirrors your life outside of the yoga room, and once you start to see that, the way you approach the shapes, the way that if you're breathing shallow, if your breathing's up in your throat and your face, like, that's probably how your breathing is, like on a normal basis, and once you like make these connections, like, oh, I'm really scared, like transitioning or from one posture to the other. I mean, this stuff gets fascinating, and it's the same with art, and why a lot of people fear away from like doing a little painting and stuff like that, because it's literally like, one of my greatest mentor, her name is Whitney Freya, and that's the first thing she taught me. She's like, when you paint your life. So it's basically your life being unfolded right in front of you, and you can see it. And writing does the same thing, right? I mean, writing, it's hard to miss something when you're like writing every day. And not just that, when you're able to connect with your emotions, which is not an easy thing in a society that's completely flatline about emotivity, like completely flatline. And here's grief. So we got that flat line, and grief is like, like this, right? So where can you channel this sadness, channel the sorrow, channel, So if I didn't have art and yoga, I don't know, I'd probably be medicated. I'd probably, and that's where, a lot of confusion comes with like depression, like, people going in deep depression. Depression is not feeling,
Right.
and it's almost more accepted. What?
Depression's like a disconnection from yourself, right?
Completely.
It's all about calling yourself back. And, if I had depression a few times in my life, and I look back and that's exactly what was happening. I was living for the outside world and I was not feeling.
Well, and that's right. And in a way, sorry to cut you off, but in a way, depression is, you can live better with depression in our society that you can live, with grief, and does that make sense when I'm saying that? Like, it's almost like we cater a bit more to depression. It'd be easy to just, go around about your day, and nobody probably would even know that, you're depressed and stuff like that. So to show your emotion, but there's like, for me, there's so much vitality in emotions, and a lot of times, sometimes what I hear from people is that, if I let myself go there, like if I let myself go to the sadness, if I let myself really feel what I'm feeling, I'll never come back. And for someone like, and you seriously, like, if you read all the literature, like fiction or nonfiction, and if I look at my own background and life, and it's not true. There is a bottom to your pain, and when you get to reach that over and over again, that you're like, okay, I can go to the depths, and I'm still, how can I live with my sadness? And that in itself, like, knowing you can do that, knowing there is a bottom to it, because there is, right? Like, think about, like, you've read the story about the person on the bathroom floor, and like just having this, like, that moment changed me when I was like to the depths of the depths of the depths, and do you know what I mean? And that turned me around. But the person had to give themselves the permission to go.
Yes.
There. Do you know what I mean? And it's not, it's not something you can sustain. But in a way, mindfulness is just sustain attention for a period of time. And if you can do that in most of my offerings, I only ask 5 minutes. Like, give yourself, isn't that crazy? And some people still think they don't have 5 minutes,
and 5 minutes is huge. Like I, practicing, like, now with, even through my grief, but, a mother of 2 toddlers that are 11 months apart, there is a lot of craziness in a day. And the breath, and that's why I love yoga so much too, because when you connect to your breath and you create that expansion, if you just take 5 minutes to do that, and then combination with moving your body, because we need to move. And so the breath and the movement, it helps us move all that heaviness and all that sadness without really having to go too deep, right? Like it's these tools that are out there that are beautifully, they're kind of taking us by the hand like a best friend, like let me help you move through this.
Yeah,
And
I
I think,
agree
yeah,
wholeheartedly.
yeah,
And
and
you know, people think it's harder than that. People think, I don't know, there's this they think unfolding and opening up and to your life, it's harder than taking a full breath in and a full breath out. And essentially it's not. When you do that, well, first of all, you have no choice but to stop. You are feeling and accessing your emotion in one swoop.
yeah.
Your breath is always with you. Like, you don't need to, it's completely free. Like, it doesn't cost anything if you're right.
I always say that it's
You're
free.
alive. Yeah, yeah. And then lastly, the breath is neutral. And so it'd be really, I think like 99% of the time, you don't think you're good or you're bad at breathing, right? You just are breathing, right? And mindfulness gets a bit confused where like, it's like, well, I'm always breathing. Like, if I'm alive, like I'm breathing. But it's that knowing, that knowing how like to develop the tools, like even just like one of the first, like the best mindfulness tool is like, can you hear your breath? Okay, if I can hear my breath, then I must be breathing, right? And that's what the yoga takes it a step further and into the bodies. And can I still breathe in a twist? Can I still breathe upside down? Can I still breathe when my face is all sweaty, disgusting, uncomfortable, awkward? Can I still breathe when I'm fed up, I just want to leave? Can I still breathe? Because life around you can get just chaotic, loud, completely doesn't make sense. But if I know that I have the anchor of my breath, then I'm invincible, essentially, right? And so, when Tommy passed away, I knew this. And another thing that I see, it's people will start yoga when their life is in shambles. Like, now they're like, they have to do something, but you think, but my body knew these things. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had done them for so long already that it was ready to receive. Now in time of crisis, I had all these tools available for me. Not just that, but I was teaching these tools. So anyways, I hope that makes sense. And to the bottom of that sadness, grief and love are sisters, and the more you live, like everyone's born with losses, and that's another thing that I'm really every human like knows losses in just different ways. And the more I'm studying death, the more I realize, like, yeah, Tommy was really my like I don't know if that's the word, precursor, but that really my like leap into that avenue. But now I'm discovering like there's so many kind of gateway to that. People never see grief as like parts of their bodies they don't love. and
Exactly.
essentially, when you don't love parts of your body, you're literally like have them exiled. You're not willing to see it, you're completely detached from it. And bulks of us are disembodied, and bulks of us, if you think about, again, just thinking your life was going to be a certain way, and like, guess what, it's not. And so that is that's grief. If I think about the sorrows of the world, wars, if I think about school shootings and things we carry with us, like people are like, I feel weird today, and it's like, that's grief. That's like you're carrying the stuff
Totally.
that's not even yours, and the closer in our community, like I know when Tommy died, like grief is communal. Like, it brought people together on a level that they wouldn't be relating. Like, all our neighbors like came to his celebration of life. Like, I mean, some of them, which I didn't even know they knew we had kids, you know? So, and there's many other ways. I mean, I don't want to get too far, but there's this whole idea of, your generational baggage. Like if your grandparents have been to war or have lived traumas, or like, you can go back ways, like you carry that with you in your blood and in your bones. So it's all, it's not just, grief can be felt, and I think that's what we were talking a lot with Beck, just how, people think of grief and they think of death and they think of losing someone, and then that's it. And there's still a lot of people that, don't see being having your life in transition and being that of grief. But I'm sorry, but like going in transition is leaving your old life, entering a new life. That sounds like grief to me,
Well, yeah, exactly. Grief is everywhere, and we're experiencing it every day. And I like how you brought to Becky's interview the simplicity of the definition of grief, right? There's two parts to it. There's, losing of someone you care about, and then there's heaviness of the heart, right? We all experience heaviness of the heart. And when I was grieving Carter, I really started seeing all that. I was seeing this pattern of grief everywhere. And I was just like, people are wondering why they're not enjoying life, and why, they're in this like robot mode, like you were talking about, like this living this straight line. It's because they're not allowing themselves to feel that grief. And I think, too, they think that it's hard because they've carried it for so long. This heaviness of the heart is so heavy, right? So if it's so heavy, what is going to happen if I actually do something with it? And it's actually very liberating. Imagine carrying a backpack of rocks and finally just taking it off, right? Like, it feels amazing. And how would I have ever seen the grief that I was in when I lost my baby was just like, it's a spiral downward, hit bottom, darkness.
Yeah.
But really just surrendering to it and hitting that bottom, like you say, and then hitting the next bottom when it comes, it gets further apart. And then all of a sudden you start to breathe easier, and you're seeing different things in life. Like, I know that you refer to magic a lot, and I know in Becky's interview you say sometimes you've referred to it too much. And I find I do the same thing, because I find I see things, and like even just like outside right now, it's raining and the green is so green. It's magic, it's beautiful. And I find like now I have that different set of glasses or different perception of life. And I truly believe it has to do with that whole love being the thread through grief and following it through and really just embracing my grief, to see it's embracing life, right? Because it's part of life.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And, people, I literally try to teach people how to live magic lives with art and with yoga. And I believe inside of us, there's a magician inside of all of us. And it's there. It's not that it's not, there's, either you have it or you don't. It's inside all of us. If you dare to harness the dark and dense and hard stuff, you get to wake up to the light and the spark and the fire and all of that. But if you don't go, like, there's not one without the other. And I mean, there's beautiful poetry about this. There's, read all Mary Oliver and Khalil Gibran, and I mean, the E.E. Cummings, and I mean, they all knew it. They don't say it explicitly, but it's in there. Rumi, and it's in there. But we are at a loss. It's just, okay, I'm craving this. I want this. Where you're talking about, Estelle, but I have no idea how to do it. And I see in mothers a lot when they have absolutely, like, they feel robbed of their time every day, and, and this and that, and just I see it in other, you know, just even in people, like single people that can't do anything that for themselves, basically, you know. Um, and anyways, there's, you know, and it's complex. I'm not gonna say, you know, even though the definition might, you know, I might have told them really simplicity, it's not, you know, it's super complex and weaved into history and your childhood and, you know,
Yeah,
all
there's
this stuff.
definitely complexity to it, but it, you know, that simplicity of that definition, it kind of hits home to people, right?
I
It
think so.
helps make
Yeah.
that connection of, oh, hey, wait a minute. I don't have to lose a loved one to feel grief. You know, this heaviness, I felt this before. What is that? And then
Yes.
they start to pay attention that, wait a minute, I'm feeling that more than usual. So, you know, let's pay attention to
Yeah.
that.
And usually it's very
And
exciting, you know, when people can even voice that because they are aware of that. And you know, there's there's people that go their whole life and they just roll about and they never ask themselves the bigger questions, you know, and they're automatic and they just do what's expected of them, and you know, things like that. But I don't know. I've never been. I've always asked the big questions, and I've always, you know, I'm kind of a bit of a rebel that way. And but at the heart of grief, there's amazement, there's wonder, there's awe,
Mhm.
there's like wow, there is,
Yeah.
and just if I,
And it's going there and it's
it
hitting that
is,
bottom to see it, right?
it
Like
is.
I'm sure some people are watching us now going, these two are crazy. What? They
Oh
found
yeah,
that in grief, right? But we went there. We went to the darkness, we surrendered to it and we embraced it and we got rewarded with this like heart awakening way of living that is just like if I could just show every woman and man that this can happen, like it's a gift. It really
it is,
it
and
is.
it is, and I've been blessed, you know, with studying yoga and you know studying painting um, and you know writing about it, but if anything, you know, the body is probably the first way in, you know, of
Mhm.
anything, just in that like I can touch my body, I can start like um because it's a really hard thing to like even just label your feelings and your emotion, like um you know, a lot of people don't know, you know, they don't know, but and so that's why yoga is so you know, the movement practice just can help even when you don't believe about, like let's say you don't believe us, if you just started like
Yep.
a like small little yoga practice, your body opens up even if you don't believe all of that, you know, it does it on its own, so
Well, yeah, it's so subtle, right? It's subtle,
yeah. Yeah, and
right?
actually,
And
I love that word because in yoga we work with the subtle body, right? And
yeah.
actually, I have this. I'm not sure if we're running out of time, so I sometimes I bring. This is Angel, and it's my overpriced unicorn snow slash sparkle glow, and I literally bring this sometimes in my yoga classes, and Angel is right here, and I just to mention to people that you know we have our body, like our meat suit, our physical body, and we have our mental, emotional mind, like our thoughts, fluctuating thought, you know. In yoga, we call it the chitti britti, and then we have this like atmosphere all around us, you know. And sometimes I always, it took me forever to realize like my breath wasn't just in my heart and in my lungs, you know, it was all around
Yeah.
me. And once I realized that, and when you do yoga or breath work, when you write in your journal, when you walk in nature, when you sometimes like if you're a person you love having a coffee with a friend, just like talking things out, well, you're shaking this and all the sparkles glow.
I love it. I love it.
And this is what
And
happens when you do yoga and art. You just become a sparkly being.
I love it. And that is a nice segue into She Quest Summer School because we need to talk about this because that was one thing when I saw it, I'm like, I need to talk to this woman because she's fiercely loving life. but this summer school thing, people need to know about it so they can go there and they can get it because they still have time to get it. And I feel that what you've put together, like I could feel it with my being, that it's just this like subtleness but yet profound opening for people, and that they're just going to enjoy it so much. It's going to be fun, and I'm going to do it, so I'm excited about it as well. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so this came, I mean, you kind of heard me say, like, there was really, I feel we're really craving more self expression in our lives, and we're craving more art and more beauty and more power. Like, how can I step into my power? I don't know how to do that. How can I, develop my like voice and stuff? These are all like so abstract and so personal, so personal. And so I really felt there was a call for like, how do I get to do that? I want that. I want that. I want that what you're telling me, but there's I don't know how to go about it. And it was one of these things, like, so I'm calling my Shikwa summer school well, she, for like your indwelling place, you get, I mean, there's many definitions for the soul, but one that I really love is the truth of who you are, and that
I love
quest. And I love the word quest because in quest, there's the word question, and also a quest, kind of, it's like an adventure pilgrimage and going somewheres where your soul wants to go, and giving yourself permission to do that. It's just like, there can be more like things that excite me more, but every time there's like a woman registering, I'm like literally like doing a little jig because I'm like, thank God, like, just that willingness, I don't know if you follow Gabby Bernstein. She's like a spiritual, and one of her quote I really love, it's like, you don't need to be like flexible to do yoga, or develop a meditation. You just need to be willing. And when that willingness is there, then you can hear and then it lands in you, right? And so this summer is really about connection and inspiration, and we're going to do lots of journaling and work with, I have an art deck, and it's all about women empowerment. So just to show you, I have my stuff here. When you sign up, you get a little journal, and that I made that, and it's from my She collection. And so a little journal like this, so you have that, you can journal, and then you get a She decks of cards. So we're going to work every week. So every week we're going to pick one card, and there's like intentions at the back, and we'll kind of write along the week with like the theme of the week and do little creative tasks to go with that. And I'm just really excited, to bring more art in women's life, more beauty in women's life, and more like beauty, not like what's nice and not nice, really beauty as like a homecoming, like making space and time for what's most important for you, and in that there's so much to be awakened. So much to be awakened. And I'm just really excited about this summer. Yeah.
I am too. I'm so excited about it. As soon as I saw it, my whole being just like stopped and said, "You're doing this." And I remember at first I had this resistance, this hesitation, because I shared with you before, when I've done art before, I've had this a lot of like anxiety and fear about it, even picking up the paintbrush and my heart beating faster. But I remember when I actually took the paintbrush and started painting, how it even with the movement and the colors, everything just, I didn't have to deal with the emotion coming up. It just came out. And by the end of it, the painting was so different than what I started with, but I could clearly see the journey that I had just gone through in the past. I think it was just like 10, 15 minutes. And it's pure magic. It's so subtle, but yet, like you said, you're painting your life, And I think it's
tell me, Chrissy, did your life turn out the way you wanted to? Right? I think that's one of those, like, it didn't turn out, my art didn't turn out the way I wanted to. Well, guess what?
But
Right?
you know what? I didn't have any intention on how it was going to turn out
That's,
because I was honestly so fearful of actually doing it. I thought if I could just do it,
yeah.
let's just see what it comes out as.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, it's another, I mean, it's another one of my mission, you know, and I write often about it as much as I do grief, I think, but to widen your lens on what it means to be creative for you, and the same as like widening your lens on what it means to grieve for you, you know, and yeah, I feel, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not an artist, like I'm not creative. Well, it doesn't make sense. Like you can't, I'm sorry, like that, it's like illogical. And you know, if you go, so in the word breath, I think the root of the word breath is literally like to, in Greek, it's like to inspire. And so you are a living, breathing inspiration, like you are a walking inspiration, and
I love that.
you just need to be reminded. And
Yeah.
you cannot, you know, Brene Brown, Elizabeth Gilbert, El Luna, like all these teachers, they're like, you can't say, there's no such thing as being creative or not creative. It's either do you use your creativity or you don't use it, you know. And and yeah, it's scary. And like people think I still don't get scared. Like I look at like a full, like a canvas, I'm terrified still after 20 years of painting. And I think it's too this myth of like, oh, it's easy for her, oh, like Estelle's so positive. I'm like, excuse me, like no freaking way. Like, you know,
Yeah.
we all get, and it's to like, can I bring fear along with like my brush and be like, you know what, fear, take the backseat, bitch. I'll just keep doing my painting. And you know, the way I teach painting, it's from a brave and intuitive place. You know, I didn't go to art school. I'm not going to start like claiming I've been to art school. And I think, you know, once we start, and that's scary for most people, because it's like, oh shit, what if I really actually answer that voice and live that voice? Um and it's the doing. Like, who cares what the final, you know, painting ends up. The healing is in the making, the healing is in the breathing, the healing is in the in the movement, the doing. And then, you know, so I can't stress that enough. And I think we crave this so bad, you know. And again, everyone has their own art story, you know. And sometimes it depends on how long my workshops are. But I ask people like to write down what their art story was. You know, everyone has like, usually you can recall a time where you were like, somebody told you you can draw a straight line, or you know, your family, like, you were the one good in math, this one was the good at this at this, and then you just like carry that hat and you're like, no, but da da da, you know, like. And it's like, wait a minute, like, who said who said these things? And it's like all these like belief system. And that's why in this Cheek West Summer School, you know, I talk often about like taking off your masks, you know, and showing your real face, you know. And yeah, Rumi has this great quote. Yeah, Rumi has a quote. It says, "Take off your mask. Your face is glorious." You know, and yeah, I just got it.
So how can they sign up for this beautiful She Quest?
Yeah, so just go on my website, EstelleThomson.com. Thomson, no P. So my name, Estelle, 2 L's, Thomson, Thomson. And we could maybe even put it in the comment section. Yeah. And literally, it's like the first page on my website. I've kind of made it because I think early bird ends June 18th. So that's with the good discounted price. And then you still have another week to sign up, and the door closes June 24th. Just so I have enough time to send everyone their journal and their deck.
It starts July 1st.
It starts July 1st, and I'm going to do one video a week, and then you get like content and creative play exercise and journaling questions, that sort of stuff. And you get to be in a group of like like all these women are like just ready for it and just more
Yeah.
living a more soulful life, you know, a more a life, you know, rooted in truth and authenticity and magic. Ah!
I'm so excited to go through this journey with you this summer. Like I'm so looking forward to it, and I'm grateful to have you here today. So I know a few people are watching, so maybe we'll see if they have a couple questions. I see that there's Judy and hi Anne. Anne, you need to meet this beautiful woman, Estelle, and you need to meet each other.
Is it Anne Berry Bay?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love your book, Anne. I love it. Oh my God.
And Cindy, hi Cindy. So if anybody has any questions or comments, just quickly pop them in there. And I mean, we'll watch any comments too, and see if there's anything that we need to comment on later as well.
And Chrissy, I just wanted to salute the work that you're doing and just highlight, you know, what you're doing. You're paving the way, you know, for so many like women, and it's really I hope you know how your work is so important and needed, and you're very like you're a luminary for all of us. So it's really important you know this. I see you. I see you.
Thank you so much for that, Estelle. And anybody, yeah, who wants to find me is chrissyann.com if anybody wants to find me. But yes, thank you for that love and support. And you know, it really does uplift me to have these conversations and to go there, like to really go there, because that is the root of life. You know, you can't just feel happiness. It's just not the way life works. There's complex emotions, and we live so much up here, and you know, trying to control how life is to be and what it's going to look like and how we're going to feel, when really life is just it's underneath there. It's our bodies, and if we could just live down here, just do the switch, right? And that's what I love about Anne's book, like you said, like the be, feel, think, do, right? You know, everybody's doing the opposite: do, think, feel, be. And yeah, so you know, to bring that and to help people embrace
Yeah,
that
and I
grief and
often
sadness.
yeah, absolutely. And I, you know, I often try to explain grief to people like it's a garden, and which really links well to, you know, in yoga we think of the body as a flower, which I just love so much. And it's like you need to dig the roots, you know, and go down deep. And some of the roots are like harder to get than others, and then you get all just messy and gross and dirty. And then, you know, on other days you need to water the flower, and you need to give it enough sun and enough and shade and this. And it's just the same way you have to do with grief. You need to give it attention, and you need to, and there's nowhere in society where we give it a voice, right? It's and there's nowhere to converse, and there's almost like a lack of compassion, and you know, little regards to matters of the souls, you know. And the work that we do, you know, it's just taking off the mask essentially, and getting away from like people's phobia you know, of death, you know, because it is very much linked with life every day, all day.
Yeah.
You know,
And like Rumi said, take off the mask and the gloriness underneath, right? Like embrace that gloriness in all of its messiness, right?
yeah.
Well,
And
thank
it
you.
doesn't mean, and too, like, it doesn't mean you'll go crazy, you know. And I love that we've talked about that there's a bottom to your pain, you know.
Yeah.
And to be able to, you know, go there over and again. Yes, you need vulnerability. Yes, you need bravery. Yes, you need to take your heart and go there. But the strongest people I know, you know, they are the vulnerable ones. They are the ones that,
Exactly.
you know, they are the ones that have embraced it all, you know. And yeah, I can't wait to continue that work in Chic West, and I'm so glad that you're
Awesome.
joining us. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And I wish you a great day. And I look forward to getting my SheQuest stuff.
Yay! Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Chrissy.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.